How old were you when you got married?
Oh, wow. I was a 22-year-old bride.
You was so young.
People don't realize either.
To me, 22 is a child.
19 years old.
How did you meet R. Kelly?
I actually auditioned.
Was he interested in you then?
Oh, girl, I had a fiance and everything. Girl, no, that was just a job for me.
So that's just a job.
So you're not even looking at him like that?
Oh, no. I'm a dancer, well-known dancer in Chicago. Everybody in Chicago calls me baby girl. Okay. So I'm doing my thing, choreography. My friend Larry Sims, he's like, yo, R. Kelly's having auditions, you ought to go. And this is actually how me and Lisa Ray became good friends. I get there the last day of auditions, and people who know audition etiquette, you don't walk in on the day of callbacks. So when I went, it was the day of callbacks. It was actually the day after auditions. I walk in and Lisa Ray is like, turn around, let me see your booty. I'm like, wait, what? She was like, turn around, let me see your booty. I'm like, okay. I turned around, she's like, Rob gonna love you. She gave me a number and she was like, go in there, just go in there. Don't worry about it, just go in there. So I go in and of course everybody in the audition is like, wait, we didn't see her yesterday. What is she doing here? Went in, turned that thing out. He was like, don't go nowhere, stay.
Wow.
And that's how I met him.
And then we go from principal dancer to I Do.
Yeah, he chased me for 2 years because I was actually engaged to a guy named Lynn. Like, I'm thinking I'm gonna get married, me and Lynn gonna have babies, we gonna take our babies on the road with us.
What did he do that to an engaged woman that you flipped?
Well, let's start with the engaged woman. First of all, I came home off the road and there was a baby laying on my bed and I was like, whose baby is this? Oh. So we'll talk about it in part two. Yes, that's a whole nother part. Okay. You know, I came home off the road like, man, goo goo gaga, what we doing?
I didn't have no baby.
I was like, oh, let me get my bag. No, because one thing about Drea, when I'm done, I'm done.
Okay.
Of course, that was his end because like, you need to shoulder the crown. Come go to Europe with me. We were best friends. I can't say the moment that we like fell in love or became a couple. It's just what I know was the moment when he shared him being molested as a little boy. To have a grown man lay in your lap and cry. And I'm not talking a tear. I'm talking the snot, body jerking, why did this happen to me cry? But I know what it was. It was our trauma. Me being that abused little girl, coming from a household. My grandfather was a Baptist preacher. He was also the first man I ever saw beat a woman. So God, love, and pain were one for me at a very young age. So it was that connection of that broken little boy, that broken little girl. Here, I'm gonna put us back together.
How many years were y'all married?
We were married almost 10, together 13. 19 years old when I met him. And that's something I want to drive home to people. Like, they judge me now based off the woman who's done the work, who's been in counseling, who's been separated from him for damn near 20 years. Y'all don't know. Think of yourself at 19 years old. What did you know?
I was wild.
First of all, at 19, I don't have no business being with a 27-year-old. Let's start there. I harbor no anger, no hate, because to say I don't love him is to say I don't love my children. And if you don't have kids, you don't get it. And I got to the point, I'm not gonna keep explaining that. You need to understand, I wasn't a side chick, I wasn't a jump off, I wasn't a baby mama, I was his wife. And I'm the mother of his children. So to say that I hate, dislike, want harm to come to, that means I want that for my kids. That's insane.
In the 13 years, when was the first red flag of something's not right?
When he would get irate when other men on the road would talk to me. But he covered it, and this is why I do the work I do to this day. I did not know the difference between control and concern. But
did you always try? Well, you was his choreographer, so you was always with him.
No, and that's another misconception people have. When I started touring with him, me and the dancers were on a totally separate bus. He had his own bus, his own security. A lot of times, we didn't even stay in the same hotels as he did. They got the nice 5-star, honey. We was at that old Holiday Inn. Do you hear me, girl?
Okay.
Yes. Okay. So we had separate worlds. So everybody that feels like she knew she saw, First of all, I'm an employee. That's none of my business what you're doing. I don't care. I got a whole fiance at home. I'm here dancing, trying to make connections, because in my mind, I'm thinking, yo, when this tour is over, I gotta book my next gig. It wasn't until one day, Sasha, I get on the bus and I go in my bunk and I'm like, where are my clothes? Where my bag? I'm like, no, they didn't rob us, but they left everybody else's stuff, but just took mine. I go on his bus. He didn't move my stuff to his bus.
So, okay.
He was like, I want you to be with me because creatively, people don't understand. I did wardrobe. I sat with the lighting man. We're doing sound together. I helped him create the show. It wasn't just, oh, I dance and show up. So when everybody else is sleeping, we like, okay, well, let's not do this. On this, we're gonna take the sweeps out. Or we should have pyros here. Okay, when we come out the toasters, I'm gonna change the way the girls come out. So we're creating and developing this show that if anybody ever went to his shows back in the day, they was like, he had one of the coldest shows they had ever seen in their life. And people still don't give me credit for it, but it's cool.
At any point for you through the years, do you take any accountability?
Oh God, yes.
And yes, and then how have you forgiven yourself?
Well, let's start with the accountability. I will say this, I don't deserve anything that happened to me, but once I knew what it was, I was fully responsible for how long I let it happen. And that's how I got my power back. My power.
Why did you let it happen so long?
Because when you grow up in a world where abuse is prevalent, again, you have to think, it wasn't so much what my grandfather did that changed me, it's what my grandmother didn't do that changed me. When I saw him choking her and beating her and she got up the very next day and made that man breakfast like nothing ever happened, it taught me to be a lady of grace through abuse. You sit in that front pew, you clap your hands, you praise the Lord, you don't say nothing about all the women he's sleeping with in the church, got babies with in the church. You don't talk about that.
Did it have anything to do too, though, with the fame? I mean, because you guys were, I mean, everybody knows who R. Kelly.
But nobody knew he had a wife. So
well, that's
people
very
think
true.
It was
but
a fame thing.
The money, the lifestyle.
Let me clarify that too, because people say the money and lifestyle. What good does it do you when you locked in a master bedroom and you got furs and every Gucci and every Louis and every Prada and can't go nowhere? I had to get permission to go to the bathroom. And people often say, how does that happen? Let me tell you something. It only takes an abuser one time to beat you enough to know not to do again.
Did you ever hit him back?
Not until the very end when I was like, you know what? I can't do this anymore. And that's when I knew I had to leave because now you're turning me into you.
How would you think that you're protecting yourself?
So people put you in a position to feel, how ungrateful are you? Do you know how many women would, R. Kelly could have anybody he wanted, he chose you, and you complaining over something so little? It took one Christmas when I finally just escaped, and I literally did escape in the middle of the night. Like, it was crazy. It's like a Lifetime movie when I look back on it now, and it's all gonna be in my book.
Because I don't know.
Well, I'm saving some of that for my book.
Oh, okay, because we don't have, okay, we'll talk about your book later, okay.
It was like a Lifetime movie, how I got out with my kids. And I literally left with $2,500 in one duffel bag.
People don't know how real that is and how many women are living through this right now, trying to figure out how to escape. It's real.
And what people don't understand either, it's far easier to escape the average Joe. Do you know how hard it is to escape somebody that's got judges in their pockets, police chiefs in their pockets? I'm not just escaping him. At the time, I'm escaping Jive Records. I'm escaping promoters who do concerts that make money off of you, artists that you work for. Jive Records knew what was going on. Like, a lot of people had the audacity to say, why is she just coming forward now? Honey, I came forward back in 1990 something. Go look it up. Had a whole restraining order and order of protection. Jive Records put out a comment on my behalf, not me. You can look it up right now. They decided to say, we don't need her doing that because you working with Michael Jackson, you working with Madonna, you working with Celine Dion. We need her to be quiet. So people don't understand, it wasn't just me escaping him. I'm going up against an entire machine.